Hello everyone. Today I want to discuss a topic that has been worrying me quite a bit for a long time. If you like consuming content about fiction, you've probably seen such things as writing comparisons. In case you are not aware of what writing comparisons are, it's kinda like power scaling debates, but instead of comparing power, people compare fictional stories and characters and try to define what series or character is better written. For comparing, they usually use these writing categories. So, the purpose of today's video is to explain why I dislike this tendency and what I find wrong about it. To make myself clear, I'm gonna highlight what I consider to be the main problems of this tendency. And the first problem is comparison of the incomparable. So the first problem comes when you just look and try to analyze the categories by themselves. Look for example on things like depth and complexity. I understand what these words mean, but I can't really understand how you can compare two different series relying on these terms. I've always thought of depth and complexity as abstract things that you define for yourself while going deep into certain stories. I can't really create a comparison based on these terms because I feel like it's more about your own perception and perspective of the story than objective interpretation. And the same could be said about almost any other category. Like, what is overall themes and main theme? How do they compare these terms? Is it about quality or quantity or about both? Also, I don't think that main theme is a valid category, because some stories have multiple themes and all of them are equally important to the story. I think if we intend to compare themes, it should be more like comparison of thematic structure and framework. So I think you get the tendency with this one. They're understandable terms, but when you try to think about comparing them, you can put everything together and build logical structure. And it's one of my biggest issues with writing comparisons. I think that writing and fiction just don't work that way. And the next thing is when people compare two different stories from different forms of storytelling. For example, I've seen how people compare stories from books with stories from manga and try to define which one is objectively better. That even sounds absurd to me because these two are absolutely different. They use different methodics to tell the story. Obviously, books will have better dialogues and better prose, but manga gives you visual presentation and visual narrative. They rely on different things, so you can't really compare these two. And the same thing with other forms of media. You can compare two different forms of storytelling and define which one is objectively better, because they all create unique experiences, different one from another. So you can't objectively define which one is better. You can only understand which one is better for you and which one resonates with you more. But it's obviously subjective, not objective. And now we will discuss the second main problem for me, and this problem is elitism in its any form. The issue with this one is, if debates are intended to be objective, personal biases shouldn't be a part of them. But it's definitely not the case when it comes to the writing community. Don't get me wrong, it's okay to have personal biases, but when you try to prove that your opinion is objective, it's kinda wrong to include personal agenda. But in the writing community, it went to the point where some series are heavily praised and considered to be the pinnacle of medium, and some are considered to be overrated and even bad. And it's okay, but people for some reason try to downplay stories that they don't like and say, hey, look, my favorite story is objectively better than yours, and that feels kinda weird. And in most cases, they downplay popular series and praise something that they consider to be underrated. And again, it's okay to like something underrated, but for loving it, you shouldn't hate on popular stuff just for being popular and iconic. There are many forms of elitism like seinen elitism, visual novel elitism, book elitism, and many more. And it's okay if you love these forms of medium, but don't be arrogant and respect others when it comes to taste. So the point of mine is that objective comparison kinda loses its meaning when everyone is trying to push their own agenda and value only their own perspective on writing. And the last but not the least is the reason that I called losing yourself as a matter of subject in a relationship with a story. One of the most crucial aspects of art is you, yes, you, all of us. As a consumers, we play the main role when it comes to art, because we are the ones who define the value of art for ourselves. Same as the author puts his soul and heart into his work. We try to find ours through consuming and analyzing certain pieces of art. We try to understand why we love and dislike something, try to find reasons why certain stories and characters are so close to us, and why we have such a strong sense of resonance when it comes to certain pieces of art. In the same way as the author does, we also create the ultimate piece of art through analyzing and sharing our experience with others. We feel the art with the parts of ourselves. And this important component of art is lost when people try to make art objective. Art just loses what makes it art. When you don't try to find the essence of the story and just put it into categories and try to define its qualities through using them, you destroy its value for yourself. And which is more important, you negate yourself as a part of art. Because instead of sharing your thoughts, feelings, and experiences, you just compare scenes without any clarity in the end. We all love art, so don't let what truly makes it special fade. Respect others and don't be afraid to share your love for certain stories with others. And never forget that you are also a part of art. Guys, this is my first video. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, be sure to like it and let me know what you think in the comments. I will be glad to hear your thoughts on this tendency and art in general. Also in the future, I plan on doing content about stories that I love, so if you're interested in that, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you next time.